Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. I just wanted to do a little follow-up video to the last one I made about a little creative exercise that some of my crew used to do, where they used to exchange move notebooks and try and create stuff based on what the other person had named their move. So at the end of that video, I turned to you and asked you to name some of your moves that you use, and I would create something based off of those. Here's what we got. So the first one was flying bird. I thought about flipping someone the bird, which, as some of you might know, means to give someone the finger. And I thought flying bird and just ripping some power, but I can't really do power and I don't even really have the space to do it properly. So that was kind of out. So I looked at just what does a bird look like when they're flying, and I looked at some videos and I looked at slow motion, and the more that I looked at it, the more I just kind of wanted to play around with that movement. And this is just a personal thing with me, that I don't really create moves necessarily anymore. I do a lot more stuff with concepts and styles, and especially when it's something simple like a bird wing movement, something like that. Yeah, it's a lot more fun for me to just kind of play around with it conceptually. So this is kind of what I came up with. And I did come up with one little move that sort of is like this little shuffle as I flap my wings, and that's just something that naturally came out of playing around with the concept. The next move was the wavy skirt. And when I thought about this, I thought my lower half. Skirt is something that people wear on the bottom half of their body, and that's just what I thought. And I thought wavy, okay, well, how do I make the bottom half of my legs wavy? And I came up with this little tiny go down of kind of almost like sweeping the floor with my feet, my wavy feet, wavy legs. And that developed into a couple different little versions. And so I thought about if I was on the ground and the skirt is like laying out, that's my legs sort of, and how would I make that wavy? And that led to it, yeah, a few different versions. And then the last one was, again, back to this conceptual thing of like, what would it mean to have a wavy skirt or whatever? And I was just playing around with movement. The next one was Shaktiman. Shaktiman. I had no idea who this was or what this was, other than the little comment that it was an Indian superhero. So I had to look this up. Through some of the references that I saw, he would always do this little pose, his hands on the hips. That just led me to trying to play around with that. Since I had no frame of reference, I had to go look up some videos. One of the first videos that I saw, he did this little pose before he would spin and fly off into the sky. And I thought that was a pretty cool little movement. So I went with that. And I did a lot of playing around, and a lot of stuff didn't go anywhere. But eventually I came to the point where I was doing this cool little thing on the ground, and I do the little pose and then I spin down and then I hit this hands on the hip, but because my other arm is supporting me, I still need that other shape on the other side, so I use my foot. And that's what led to that little combo. I did come up with another variation of what this Shaktiman could be, but part of it was a mistake or like a misinterpretation of that symbol that was on his chest. And what's really on there is some sort of star thing. I'm sure it has a lot deeper meaning, but to me, initially, when I looked at it, I thought it looked like an atomic sort of symbol from, like, you know, nuclear power or whatever. And that made me think of the atomic six step, and then I just kind of added in this little pose, and it was just a little extra thing. I like the other one better. Anyway, last was the naked almond, and this one was really weird for me to try and figure out something to do. I was trying to think of what to do with the shape of what is an almond, what does it look like, what does it mean to be a naked almond. Almonds are healthy, how can I make a healthy looking move or something like that. And I was really kind of struggling of what to do. I was looking up images of like what is a naked almond and all this stuff. And as I did that, I found this yoga studio randomly. Just on the front cover, they had this person doing a yoga pose. And that to me was just like, all right, that's a pretty cool little visual. And that became what the naked almond is. It kind of has nothing to do with almonds, but the name of the studio was called Naked Almond, and so, you know, it has its own little story of how I came up with it. And sometimes that's all it is, like that's all a name is, it's just the story behind it. So I like this, the shape of this thing, and then through natural progression and experimenting, I came up with this little movement, and there we have it, that's the Naked Almond. So I hope this video was kind of fun for you guys to check out and see my creative process and see what how I initially interpreted these moves and these names and stuff, and what my end product were. And you know, at the end of the day, these aren't really end products. These are unfinished. These are just kind of initial steps into what does this move mean? What does this name mean? And that's part of the fun of creating, is like these things aren't finished, they're never done, and you just keep experimenting and playing around with things. And you know, that's why this is such a fun dance to do, and why there's so many possibilities, and it never ends. So, you know, for all you people watching this out there, just keep creating and have fun. Let me know in the comments, give me some more names to play with, and we'll see what comes up in the future. Maybe this can become a little series and we can share with each other. All right, peace everyone.